Like, I can't begin to explain to you how stupid everything that we experienced over the past 15 months. But, like, I want to remind you, 80% of the Democratic Party's base of support wanted a ceasefire. 54% of Republicans wanted a ceasefire.
And I'm sure the president's going to want to continue to engage with all of you in the next couple of days. Okay, Risha.
Thank
I haven't
you,
seen you in a
Corinne.
while. Good to see you.
It's good to see you, and thank you so much for taking our questions so often.
Thank you. I
Really
appreciate that.
it.
Thanks, Risha.
So, in terms of implementing the terms of this agreement, how confident is President Biden that the incoming administration will do that, and have they offered any assurances that they will carry them out?
I think there's a commitment to move forward with this deal. I think there's a commitment to make sure that there's an end to this war. Obviously, hostages are going to be coming home. Obviously, we've been in very close touch with the Trump transition. And the president was asked some variation of that question moments ago after he spoke, and he said he is very much indeed confident. So look, we understand this is going to be implemented by the next team, as I just stated. We are going to work closely, in close coordination with the Trump team. As the president has said, and I have said also moments ago, we want this to be in one voice, right? I think that's what you have seen in the past couple of weeks, how we have moved forward in one voice. And this is what's important for the hostages, to get them home, to make sure that we're getting that humanitarian aid into Gaza, and to ending this war that has taken a lot of innocent lives. And so that is the commitment. That is the commitment that you can see from us.
I hate the Democrats so much.
I truly believe that.
Thank you.
Okay, Mary.
Thank you, Corinne. You and the president have stressed that this
I despise them so much. Like, they're so bad. Like, they're just as monstrous as the Republican Party is on this issue, okay? Maybe not on every other issue, but specifically on this issue. They're just as monstrous, okay? And maybe even today, the Republicans have outflanked them, but they're also so smarmy, so elitist, so annoying. Like, they're so weak and silly with the way that they just try to hold on to this notion of like international rule-based order that they actually abided by when like no one believes them. This is a generational L for the Democrats. A generational L. Especially when paired up with Donald Trump. If he actually saves TikTok, which I think he will, maybe I'm wrong, but god damn, dude, like, the Trump train is coming, and he's going to use all of that newfound confidence in him and all of the good promo to basically laser every Mexican on U.S. soil. And the Democrats are going to cheer it on to be like, you deserve this. Like, just no recognition of their own failures, no recognition of the role they played in this genocide and continuing it. Nothing. Disgusting, dude.
This is the framework that he put forward last spring. But the president also made clear it was important to him to work with the incoming administration, that they be speaking in as one team, as he put it. Even the Qatari prime minister in his remarks personally thanked Steve Witkoff, the incoming administration's Middle East envoy. So do Donald Trump and his team deserve any credit for this?
I mean, look, everyone is going to want some credit. Everybody's going to want some credit. Get that? That's how this goes when something good happens. Not unusual. It is not unusual at all. What I can say is the president got it done.
Why are you acting like this is not going to get reversed in like a week, and then Trump is going to claim that he's bombing the Palestinians for national security or whatever? First of all, I'm not even saying that that might not happen. I'm saying that there's a high likelihood that that will happen. Okay? But who will fight against that when that happens? Do you understand? Who? Will it be the Democrats? The Democrats didn't even get the ceasefire. Do you not understand? That's the problem. The Democrats did not even get the ceasefire. That's what is endlessly frustrating to me, is that the Democrats got outflanked by a guy who is absolute worst.
Right? That's what I can say. And what I could also say is that, and you said it in your question to me, is that there was a framework that was put forward, and it was put forward by the president back in May 31st of last year, and it was endorsed by the world. And you see a president that has done everything that he can. This is someone who has foreign policy experience, decades of foreign policy experience. He understands what it means to bring people together.
Grow up. No one cares. No one believes this.
Together. He understands what it means to get a deal done. He also said in his remarks how difficult it was to negotiate. Negotiating is incredibly hard, and this wasn't easy, but we got it done. And so, you know, this is someone who speaks from experience, and this is, again, not an easy thing to get done. But as we've said, and I've said multiple.
Dude, there was an Arab envoy that said, according to reports, there's an Arab envoy that said Trump did with Witkoff in 1 week what Democrats didn't do for 15 months. Even if you're not super primed and super tuned into every single thing that's going on and aware of the minutia, okay? Even if you're not aware of that, what you are aware of is grander things that are happening in the world. Trump is about to be president. Trump has said, get the ceasefire done before I become president. It's true. He has said those things. And for the past 15 months, you're aware that no ceasefire happened, as Joe Biden kept saying, we're working tirelessly around the clock to implement a ceasefire. So what are people supposed to have as a takeaway from this? What are people supposed to look at here and go, oh, well, you guys don't understand the complex nature of these dealings? Because no matter what happens, like Donald Trump, even if it was the Democrats that finally were able to push that button to get Netanyahu to concede 5 days before Biden came out of office, okay, even if that was the case, good luck explaining that to Americans who are like, well, why didn't we do that for 15 months? Isn't it because Netanyahu wants to make Trump look good? That's why. He didn't want to make a deal with Biden because it would help Dems. Dude, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, a responsible elder statesman should be aware of what is happening in front of his eyes. He holds all the cards. He had full control over the situation. That's it. Here's Times of Israel's reporting on it. Times of Israel's reporting. Arab officials, Trump envoy swayed Netanyahu more in one meeting than Biden did all year. I think liberals are going to get way grosser, by the way, for the record. They're going to turn around and say, well, guess what? The genocide is still imminent to all the Muslims who are now celebrating, all the Muslim Americans and Muslims all around the world that are celebrating a potential ceasefire. They're going to turn around and be like, I hope Netanyahu kills your entire family as well here in America.
Times, and I think Jake Sullivan said this obviously recently when he was here on Monday. We were able to work closely with the Trump transition team.
Look at this stupid, dumbass, absolute moron who is a Trump supporter, it seems. Are you not happy that there's a ceasefire now? Would you not prefer the horrible war to continue? Would you prefer the horrible war to continue? Did I not say that I'm happy that there's a ceasefire and even gave Trump the credit that everyone has been yelling at me for? Maybe your dumb European mind cannot comprehend the English language well enough, and you just simply can't understand the words that are coming out of my mouth. Stupid. Wow, it sure seems like your hatred over Trump is actually overcoming your accurate assessment here. It seems like you want the war to continue. Dumbass.
Team and coordinate with them. But again, this is a framework that the president put out, and negotiations aren't easy. And this was one of the toughest negotiations that he experienced. And this is something that the president shared with all of you.
October the 7th, more than 15 months of terror for the hostages, their families, the Israeli people, more than 15 months of suffering by the innocent people of Gaza. Fighting in Gaza will stop, and soon the hostages will return home to their families. The elements of this deal for what I laid out in detail this past May, which was embraced by countries around the world and endorsed overwhelmingly by the UN Security Council. The deal is structured in 3 phases. Phase 1 will last 6 weeks. It includes a full and complete ceasefire, withdrawal of Israeli forces from all the populated areas of Gaza, and the release of a number of hostages held by Hamas, including women and elderly and the wounded. And I'm proud to say Americans will be part of that hostage release in Phase 1 as well. And the Vice President and I cannot wait to welcome them home. In exchange, Israel released hundreds of Palestinian prisoners. And during Phase 1, the Palestinians can also return to their neighborhoods in all the areas of Gaza. And the surge of humanitarian assistance into Gaza will begin. And the innocent people can have a greater access to these vital supplies. You know, during the next 6 weeks, Israel will negotiate the necessary arrangements to get Phase 2, which is a permanent end of the war. Let me say it again, a permanent end of the war. There are a number of details to negotiate to move from Phase 1 to Phase 2, but the plan says if negotiations take longer than 6 weeks, the ceasefire will continue as long as the negotiations continue. I've spoken to the Emir of Kuwait and the President of Egypt, and we have pledged to make sure the negotiations will keep moving forward for as long as it takes. Then, when Phase 2 begins,
remember, signature moment starts off by talking about how Hezbollah did October 7. Literally right there, it says the president of Kuwait played a role in this when he should have said Qatar. Like, I'm supposed to expect that this guy actually played a role here? Really? Really? He doesn't even know where he is right now. He's straight up dookying in his diapers at this very moment. And like, liberal media is trying to be like, look, he did it again. He done did it again. My goat Brandon. He's just that good.
Will be an exchange for release of the remaining.
I just want to remind everyone that Biden was supposed to reinstill confidence in American leadership at the global stage. That was one of the signature moments. Like, that was the thing that he was better on Trump on. Look at us now. That's unironically what he ran on. Remember, he ran on normalcy. He ran on restoring America's confidence, America's soft power capabilities that Trump had diminished. And it was, in my opinion, the worst failure of his administration. It was precisely that in which he failed so spectacularly at. Like, it's crazy. There is not one area where he actually has done something that helped America's placement as the leader of this empire. What do I like? Even NATO, right? NATO. I did NATO. You know who did NATO? Vladimir Putin. Even that was a gift from Vladimir Putin to Biden. And even that had tremendous amounts of failures associated with it. Because on the one hand, he was like, I did NATO. On the other hand, it probably accelerated the fascist parties in Europe with the destabilization that took place. So literally, even on that front, the NATO side of the conversation is straight up Vladimir Putin's psychopathic ambitions in Russia or in Ukraine, and the failure, the spectacular failure that his invasion of Ukraine turned into, so that it was both enough proof for Finland and Sweden to join NATO, like enough reason for them to want to join NATO, while simultaneously recognizing that they're too busy to do anything about Finland or Sweden. So it grew NATO, is true. Ironically enough, though, it grew NATO because of Vladimir Putin's ineptitude and incompetence and bloodlust. So even that was a gift, if that was even to be considered a gift. Even the positive from the perspective of the Democratic establishment, even the one crumb that is supposedly positive for Joe Biden was that he did NATO, and even he didn't do NATO. It's crazy. CNN used my interview with Bernie on air. Let's go. Is the GOAT doing actual interviews? Is your favorite Twitch streamer actually doing real news reporting? Sina Tusi says these three leave office with their standing in tatters at home and in the world. One seen as the best hope for the liberal global order in the face of Trumpism. They have failed in such spectacular ways that history is bound to neither forget nor forgive. Yeah. Accidentally did a journalism? No, it's not an accident. Interviews such as that one, high profile interviews such as that one also is journalism. Just like doing on the ground reporting on like issues that are otherwise unaddressed would be also considered real reporting. When you're bringing forth from your interview subject a new piece of information that they haven't revealed before, that would be real reporting.
Living hostages, including male soldiers, and all remaining Israeli forces will be withdrawn from Gaza, and the temporary ceasefire will become permanent. And finally, phase 3, any final remains of hostages who have been killed will be returned to their families, and a major reconstruction plan for Gaza will begin. This is the ceasefire agreement I introduced last spring. Today, Hamas and Israel have agreed to that ceasefire agreement and the whole ending the war. You know, those of you who have followed the negotiations can attest, the road to this deal has not been easy. I've worked in foreign policy for decades. This is one of the toughest.
It's just crazy because, like, Trump did it in a week. I'm just not going to ever forgive or forget. I will also warn you, Trump is not a friend to the Palestinians. The man who is the staunchest ally of Israel was able to conduct these affairs in less than a week by sending an envoy that has no business being there. Okay? Disrespecting the Israeli side through and through. Israel, once again, showing the world that they only respond to pressure. They only respond to being bullied. And for some weird reason, Democrats never understood that. And I think that it's not because they didn't understand it. It's not because they're like feckless cowards or whatever, which they are. But I think it's also because they liked it. They liked what Israel was doing. They were on board with it. They were in favor of it. They liked it. They wanted more of it. How else could you look at the situation and go, you know, it's okay to give $8 billion of weapons merely a week ago to Israel? To consistently talk about how difficult of a process this is in the wake of Donald Trump's introduction to the process, yielding the first successful position since the beginning of the conflict, is really stupid.
Toughest negotiations I've ever experienced. And we reached this point because of the pressure that Israel built on Hamas, backed by the United States.
Or maybe the pressure that Trump instilled on Israel.
Hamas's strongest supporter, Iran, launched attacks on Israel. And those attacks failed after my administration organized a coalition of nations to stop them. And after I ordered the U.S. ships and planes to come to Israel's defense, we also shaped Israel's strong and calibrated response, destroying Iran's air defenses, but avoiding an escalatory cycle of an all-out war. The United States also organized a coalition of 20 countries to stand up to attacks by the Houthis, including their missile attacks in Israel. Then Hezbollah.
Bro, L after L after L. He just posterizing his L's, dude. It is freaking hilarious. It is objectively hilarious that he just, every aspect of this, everything that he's mentioned so far is just a L plus another L plus another L.
Another of Hamas's strongest backers, was significantly weakened on the battlefield, and its leadership was destroyed. With our support, Israel negotiated a ceasefire with them, and after that, Lebanon finally elected a new president who's not beholden to Hezbollah, and he can begin a new chapter for the Lebanese people. All told,
that's right.
These developments.
He's a Maronite Christian, Jack. Totally unique and new to the Lebanese Constitution. Oh, wait. I'm being told that that's how it works in perpetuity in Lebanese history. Never mind that. This one's a cool Maronite Christian rather than the last one.
In the region which the United States helped to shape, change.
For those of you who don't know, that's like how it goes in Lebanon, because they have like multiple different fairly significant religious populations. So in an effort to create some semblance of like equality and parity, the president is supposed to be from like one sect. It's a silly requirement within the government.
The equation. And so now the terror network that once protected and sustained Hamas is far weaker. Iran is weaker. Iran is weaker than it's been in decades. Hezbollah is badly degraded. And after more than 15 months of war, Hamas's senior leaders are dead. Thousands of Hamas fighters are dead. And the military formations have been destroyed.
The guy behind him literally undermined this statement yesterday. The guy behind him was like, Hamas has actually restored its numbers to pre-October 7 levels, like, according to our reports.
Nowhere to turn. Hamas finally agreed to releasing hostages. You know, there was no other way for this war to end than with a hostage deal. And I'm deeply satisfied this day has finally come, for the sake of the people of Israel and the families waiting in agony, and for the sake of the innocent people in Gaza who suffered unimaginable devastation because of the war. The Palestinian people have gone through hell. Too many innocent people have died. Too many communities have been destroyed. In this deal, the people of Gaza can finally recover and rebuild. They can look to a future without Hamas in power. You know, the Bible says, blessed are the peacemakers. Many peacemakers helped make this deal happen, including an extraordinary team of American diplomats who have worked nonstop for months to get this done. Secretary Blinken led the effort. Secretary Jake Sullivan, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Bill Burns, John Feiner, Brett McGurk, Amos Hochstein, and the
Bro's naming all the war criminals that need to go and face a military tribunal, Nuremberg style. Amos Hochstein, Brett McGurk. They did a fantastic job for months. Yeah, fantastic for Israel, honestly, in terms of like being permanently committed to Israel's genocide. Yeah, they did. They played a spectacular role in the Israel-Palestine conflict, if you want to call it that, just on the side of Israel.
The Vice President worked relentlessly as we work to deliver this deal. I'd also note this deal was developed and negotiated under my administration, but its terms will be implemented, for the most part, by the next administration. In these past few days, we've been speaking as one team. This has been time of real turmoil in the Middle East. But as I prepare to leave office, our friends are strong, our enemies are weak, and there's a genuine opportunities for a new future. In Lebanon, there's an opportunity for a future, free from the grip of Hezbollah. In Syria, a future free from the tyranny of Assad. And for the Palestinian people, a credible pathway to a state of their own. And for the region, a future of normalization, integration of Israel and all its Arab neighbors, including Saudi Arabia. At the G20 in Delhi in September 23, I rallied key countries behind a vision of an economic corridor from India across the Middle East to Europe. That vision can now become a reality. There are risks as well, including ISIS and Iran, even in a badly weakened state, but we're handing off then to the next team a real opportunity for a better future for the Middle East. I hope they will take it. Let me close with this. My friend for years in the United States Senate, former Senator George Mitchell, who did so much to forge peace in Northern Ireland, once said about diplomacy, he said, it is a 700 days of failure and 1 day of success. 700 days of failure and 1 day of success. Well, we've had many difficult days since Hamas began its terrible war. We've encountered roadblocks and setbacks. We've not given up. And now, after more than 400 days of struggle, The day of success is
I
arrived.
still think he's gonna die in 2025 of old age. Okay, for the Secret Service, I'm saying this is speculation. Okay, It is legally allowed to make this speculation. He's very old. He's 900 years old. Okay, it's not even like an out there assessment. Okay, it is pretty funny that this man, like, people tried to tell us that this man was gonna do 4 more years, dude.
Right. God bless all the hostages and their families. May God protect the troops of all those who work for peace.
Mr. President, how do you see the future of Gaza now? As you were saying, the implementation of this deal will be in the hands of the next administration, and basically they will shape the future of Gaza. So how do you see this future? And also, how much credit do you give to the Trump team for this deal? Trump is already taking credit for it.
Well, you know, this is the exact framework of the deal I proposed back in May. Exact.
Hey, dumbass. Everybody understands that. But there was one party that refused to negotiate with you, and it surely wasn't Hamas, even though you kept saying it was Hamas over and over and over again. Ironically enough, the proposal was Hamas's proposal, which you said was Israel's proposal, and then for some weird reason, Israel never agreed to the proposal. And virtually everyone that's on the State Department beat, aside from the people that I've had on this broadcast, kept covering it as though it was factually accurate whenever Anthony Blinken said, Hamas is a real hurdle in the pathway to clearing out this proposal. And now there's just no room to hide. You know what I mean? Like, how do you continue this narrative now in this day and age, in this moment? When is this not going to pile on like this into Trump? You know why the left loses every time? We don't line up behind our side like the right does. Our infighting is our undoing. Joe Biden has never been on my side. No one who does genocide is on my side. You are not a part of the left. You are not even a liberal if you're pro-genocide. Okay? What side? I don't want to be on your side. You are not on my side. You are barely a human being if you look at this conversation through partisan lines. I can't make this clear enough for you. Joe Biden is a genocidaire, a weak little old man who took great pleasure in the death and destruction of Palestinian children, in the scholasticide that took place, in the genocide that took place under his watchful eye, as he gleefully sent billions of dollars of weapons over and over again, sidestepping Congress, sidestepping pre-existing law like the Leahy Law that made it illegal to send Israel weapons at a time when they were very clearly violating international humanitarian law. So clearly violating it that, as a matter of fact, the State Department, USAID, for example, openly tried to send this assessment to the other vampire that's standing right behind him, Anthony Blinken. And Anthony Blinken openly stated that he did not care about the real assessments of Israel's clear-cut violations of international humanitarian law. It's additionally ironic that they lied till the very end, as the exclusive reporting that Jeremy Scahill showed on the broadcast, that they lied until yesterday. Anthony Blinken lied until yesterday, protecting Israel, claiming that it was still Hamas that was a bottleneck to the ceasefire when they already had the Palestinian envoy's signatures in their hands since Monday. Think about that. But of course, part of the reason why they can lie so actively, so openly, so brazenly is because the media, it comes hand in hand. Like, many outlets will do their bidding, do the bidding of the State Department unflinchingly, and will reaffirm the silly ideas that you can immediately contradict with your own two eyes and like a little bit of critical thinking. It doesn't require much intellect to understand that something doesn't make sense. Like, Israel killed the principal negotiator on the ceasefire hostage negotiation, man. Israel assassinated Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran. Like, you don't do that when you're, genuinely, tirelessly working to do a ceasefire.
And we got the world to endorse it. Secondly, it's America's support for Israel that helped them badly weaken Hamas and its backers. and create the conditions for this deal. And thirdly, I knew this deal would have to be implemented by the next team, so I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do. Thank you.
In the, how many Americans will be released when the hostages are being released?
All the exact detail of how many people are being held, how many bodies will be returned and less, will all be forthcoming. All of it, all of it. Thank you.
This deal will hold.
I'm confident. Thank you.
Books credit for this, Mr. President, you or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh.
Yeah, it's not a joke. We all know the truth, man.
I mean, I put that question to the
God
Qatari
damn, that was loud. I apologize, chat.
Prime Minister, because the real sense here on the ground is that the last month has been really quite crucial because of the pressure that the Trump administration and the envoy of Donald Trump has put on all sides. You really do get that.
Yeah, cat's out of the bag, man. Good luck. Good luck to the Western press. Good luck to American liberals who are going to try to, like, good luck to Reddit, really. Not even like liberal media, but I think good luck to Reddit. Those are the guys. Reddit liberals who are NatSec liberals are going to be killing themselves openly and publicly, committing suicide after actively, one, pushing for more dead Palestinian children, and also, two, trying to get Biden to take credit for this thing that virtually no one will believe them on. So many Reddit liberals are going to openly commit suicide, I think, in Minecraft, in a video game, of course. How will they contend with the reality? It's so hard. They'll just, I mean, look, I'm sure they'll just stick around for a little bit and wait for Trump to also open up the unlimited genocide faucet, you know, so they can turn around and be like, you deserve this, you know, you deserve this, sand people. That type of attitude, I'm sure.
Sense, because when you look at the deal, it's not very different from the deal that the Biden administration has been pushing from about May of last year.
It's almost identical to the May deal that Biden announced here at the White House all those months ago. So it's one of the key questions. I guess there are three key questions right now. The first is, can the deal, the ceasefire, hold? The second is, will it bring a lasting peace? And the third question is, as you put to the Qatari Prime Minister, why now? I think there are a number of reasons. First of all, the situation on the ground in the region has changed quite.
Are you aware that people on the right don't want this ceasefire? They want all Palestinians gone? Yeah, are you aware that people on the left also, well, not left, but liberals also want that very same thing? Are you also doubly aware that my GOAT, my Lord and Savior, Donald Trump, regardless of what his audience wants, regardless of what the right wants, still ended up applying the necessary pressure to facilitate this ceasefire, according to virtually every single person that was involved in the negotiations process? And has now been reported accurately by numerous media outlets, including but not limited to Sky News. Yo voy a votar por Donald Trump, okay? Ay, 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 por Dios. Yo voy a votar por Donald Trump. Suck it, okay? Nothing you can say about it. Even if it's a respite of a collective total of 42 days, probably even shorter than that. Joe Biden never did that. And he had all the power to do so. You will never be able to get me to undermine the truth here, okay? This does not mean that Donald Trump is going to be a good president, nor is he a friend to the Palestinian population. Of course he is not, but neither is Joe Biden. So stop trying to act as though Joe Biden was in any way, shape, or form remotely interested in facilitating a ceasefire when he had all the power to do so, when it would have been electorally beneficial for him to do so, when it actually would have, at least in some way, shape, or form, beefed up his legacy. He ruined everything. He ruined himself. He ruined this country. He deliberately threw the election in favor of a right-wing rabid fascist whose entire cabinet is comprised of rapist drunkards, okay? And they're going to destroy the United States of America and perhaps the rest of the goddamn world. And Joe Biden did that because he wanted to die on the penis, okay? He wanted to ride it so hard that his back walls were destroyed, and that he wanted to ride it till his last breath. He wanted to die like Elvis on the toilet, okay? Sucking down a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. But instead of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich, it was Benjamin Netanyahu's penis that he was sucking on, okay? Give me a goddamn break. Him. And anyone who defends him too.
Significantly in the last.
You are so brainwashed? On what? Brainwashed on the truth? What are you talking about? You think Biden... Explain to me how you think Biden actually actively, curbed back Israel's worst genocidal ambitions. I mean, you probably don't even think that Israel's doing a genocide, I suspect, if you're saying stuff like this. But go ahead. Explain to me. It's additionally funny to come in here and say this like when virtually every single thing I said down to the wire came out to be true. And it's the worst part about it is that it hasn't happened yet. Like the worst aspect of my predictions have not even come to fruition yet. You are so brainwashed, this guy says, and then nothing else. Come on, man. What are you talking about? Biden or Bush, who was worse? I still think it's Bush, but Biden came incredibly close, which is shocking. Like, think about that. I still think Bush is the worst, right? Like, globally. I mean, you can even attribute a lot of the missteps within Israel-Palestine to George W. Bush as well. On his way out, George W. Bush literally said Georgia and Ukraine should join NATO. And also on his, well, not on his way out, but kind of on his way out, actually. No, literally on his way out, he tried to facilitate an election in Gaza, an election in Palestine, when his own people, the Palestinian Authority, the Fatah party was like, dude, don't do it. We're not ready for this election. We will lose. Palestinians despise us. They understandably see us as like a corrupted force that is in the pocket of the CIA. And Bush was like, nah, dog, it's fine. We'll do it. And guess what happened? They lost. And then Bush was like, okay, let's do a coup d'etat and forcibly remove Hamas from power. They lost again, militarily this time, further solidifying Hamas's reign over the Gaza Strip. That was George W. Bush on his way out, by the way. That's what he did on his way out, while also simultaneously saying, yeah, you know what, Ukraine and Georgia, you're a part of NATO now. Let's get it started. So yes, George W. Bush is still the worst. But I always said Donald Trump was the second worst, at least as far as like presidents in my lifetime. And it turns out, no, Joe Biden is worse than Donald Trump, at least in his first term. Joe Biden's foreign policy literally was the continuation of Donald Trump's foreign policy. All of the worst aspects of Trump, casting aside the Iran denuclearization agreement, Joe Biden continued that. Abraham Accords, isolating Palestinians, making them recognize that there was no hope, no way out, which led to October 7. Joe Biden continued that. Every single thing that Donald Trump did to accelerate the conditions in which October 7 happened, Joe Biden continued. And then Joe Biden continued Israel's offensive genocidal campaign in Gaza. And then Donald Trump stopped it, at least for a couple days so far. Now, it hasn't stopped yet, and it's going to continue, and the bombing is going to intensify because that's how Israel operates, okay? They're going to intensify the bombing all the way until the 19th, the day of the actual ceasefire. I'm unfollowing. I voted for Biden this election, and your hatred for him is a turnout for me. No, don't leave, chatter. We can recover this. I know I said I was riding with Biden this whole time, and maybe you took it seriously, but that was a lie.
Last few months with Iranian proxies across the region being quite severely degraded, whether it be Hezbollah in Lebanon. The Syrian regime has gone completely. That, of course, was aligned to Iran. And the continued...
Oh, my God, what will Ryan Ruth think? Oh, my God, Ryan Ruth was also pro-Palestine. Dude, imagine Donald Trump tells Ukraine that they have to reduce their conscription age, mandatory conscription age to 18, and offers additional weapons contracts to Ukraine, and simultaneously facilitated a ceasefire in Gaza. That's literally Ryan Ruth's entire world, okay? He would have to come out and be like, I'm so sorry I tried to shoot at you. Donald Trump hires the 1,000 NATO-trained Afghan soldiers to go fight in Ukraine against Russia. Ryan Ruth in shambles. My goat, the singular median NATO voter, Ryan Ruth, in shambles.
Degrading of Hamas in Gaza. So all of that is a strategic gain and puts Israel in a better position, making it more likely that they would be happy from their part to do a deal. But the other thing that's changed is Trump. and there's no two ways about that. His unpredictability has focused minds. There's no question about that. It has focused minds in Qatar, in Egypt, in Iran, and also in Israel. Netanyahu realised over the course of the past 18 months that he didn't need to dance to Joe Biden's tune. That much was proved time and again by the fact that Netanyahu was able to walk over Joe Biden's red lines and nothing happened. It's different with Trump. Trump is unpredictable. That claim that all hell would break loose if the hostages were not released very, very quickly after Trump took office. What did that mean? Was it an empty threat? Was it not an empty threat? Who knows? That's Trump. And I think that focused Netanyahu's mind. It focused other minds as well. So both sides are obviously trying to claim all the credit. It's far more nuanced than that. Have a listen to Biden at the end of his statement a little earlier on, where he was asked what the history books would make, who they would.
Dude, if something didn't happen and the same cycle of failure repeated for 15 months, and then there was a new factor presented, I'm sorry, it's very difficult for me to avoid looking at the new factor that is now involved in the equation after the 15 months of failure changed into a success. Like, it's no amount of complexities understanding is going to change that dynamic. Okay? Oh, it's just too complex for you to understand. Just like Israel's genocide, too complex for you to understand. Yeah. No, it's actually too complex for you to understand. That's why you should demonstrate blind fealty to me, okay, and Joseph Robinette Brandon, that he magically was able to finally put this deal together that he was tirelessly working around the clock on 5 days before he was out of office. He just couldn't do it for 15 months until the last 5 days. You're brainwashed? Shut up. No more you're brainwashed. You have to tell me why I'm brainwashed, what your disagreement with me is. It's so boring when you say that.
Would give the credit to.
I knew this deal would have to be implemented by the next team, so I told my team to coordinate closely with the incoming team to make sure we're all speaking with the same voice, because that's what American presidents do.
Books credit for this, Mr. President.
So you don't think the ceasefire negotiations would have progressed if Kamala won? I don't know, but I don't have to. Do you understand? I don't know, but I don't have to. Because Trump is president now, and it is their doing. Those two figures, those three figures really, are primarily responsible for all of the hell that you are going to experience in the next 4 years. And that's really important for everyone to understand, okay? That's really important for everyone to understand. You can engage in hypotheticals all day, every day, speculate on what Kamala Harris could have done that's like so different than Joe Biden, okay? And have fun with that. But as it stands, their ineptitude, their incompetence, their lust for endless child blood in the Gaza Strip is one of the major reasons as to why they handed the keys to the castle to an incompetent, monstrous, racist man whose agenda is virtually identical to the Nazi agenda. 20 million people being forcibly removed from their homes and being put into concentration camps at the border, slated for slated for deportation. Okay? Those three gave the keys to the castle to that guy and that campaign. So all matter of horrifying things that happen, okay? All matter of horrifying things that happen come in the next couple of months. They are also responsible because they were so horny to maintain this weird posture with Israel, so excited at the continued baby murder that they forgot that there was an election going on, I think.
You or Trump?
Is that a joke? Oh, thank you.
that remark there, Mark. Is that a joke? And while we were in that press conference with the Qatari Prime Minister, we saw Donald Trump put out a statement on Truth Social, even before the Qataris had fully, said that this deal was over the line.
He was the first to make a statement, even before the outgoing administration of Biden made any sort of noises about whether or not a deal had been struck. Trump was on social media, on Truth Social, with this statement. He said this epic ceasefire agreement could only have happened as a result of our historic victory in November, as it signaled to the entire world that my administration would seek peace and negotiate deals to ensure that all Americans, the safety of all Americans and our allies. And it continued, we will continue promoting peace through strength throughout the region as we build upon the momentum of this ceasefire to further expand the historic Abraham Accords. Now, Yalda, the Abraham Accords was a deal done in the first Trump presidency that saw Israeli normalization with certain Gulf Arab states. It was a remarkable moment in itself, but it has been set back massively by the events of October the 7th and what followed after that. Now, as I said a little earlier on,
bro, it's just like I can't begin to explain to you how stupid everything that we experienced over the past 15 months, because I've been so hyper focused on how unimaginably cruel and violent it's been. But like, I want to remind you that 80% of the Democratic Party's base of support wanted a ceasefire. 54% of Republicans wanted a ceasefire. 54% of Republicans wanted a ceasefire. 70% of independents wanted a ceasefire. So the Democratic Party did not do this because there were so many like Israel dick riders in its ranks. Maybe in its institutions, but certainly not in its base of support. 75% of American Jews wanted a ceasefire. The only group where something close to the majority actually didn't want a ceasefire was evangelical Christian Zionists. And they've never voted for the they've never voted for the Democratic Party. Never. That's so insane to me. 25% of the most conservative American Jews and like 35% of the broader electorate that is the most conservative American Christians that have never voted for the Democrats and never will vote for the Democrats because they think Democrats are pedophilic vampires that were already going to vote for the Republicans, were the only constituency reliably voting for Israel to continue bombing Gaza. That's it. And Democrats still did nothing. It's so crazy.
Netanyahu needs to dance to Trump's tune because he needs Trump. He needs Trump to be able to further the Abraham Accords. What Netanyahu really wants is normalization with Saudi Arabia. Harder now than it was 4 years ago because of what has unfolded in Gaza. And to get normalization, he needs a deal, and he needs a deal that Trump can help with. And I think that goes to the heart of answering that question. Why now? Why this deal came now? I would also add briefly, Yalda, that you were discussing with Ali whether or not this will hold over the next 4 days, this ceasefire. I wonder whether it will, for precisely that reason. The Israelis are not likely to derail anything now because of one word, Trump.
How is it not your fault for not delivering the voters to prevent this? Wait, are you trying to say that like I had a significant role in making Trump win by not delivering votes for Kamala Harris? Not only is that kind of stupid, I mean, really stupid for you to say, and it's something that I've addressed a lot of times, but don't you think that would be good right now? I would be celebrating if I was like pro-Trump. I'd be like, oh yeah, see, I did it. Like I told people to go vote for Trump and then he actually delivered on a ceasefire. I'd be doing victory laps, not warning you that things, might seem good for now, but it's probably going to get a lot worse down the line. If I played a role in Donald Trump actually winning the election, I'd be celebrating it right now, don't you think? I've repeated this before, but if I had this level of power and prominence in swaying the vote in any particular direction, don't you think it was the stupidest decision for the Democratic Party to not kiss my ring and listen to what I'm saying. It's interesting because, like, I don't have this power, but in your fantasy, in your hypothetical, I do. Then, you know, the Democratic Party would be a fool not to listen to what I have to say and make concessions to me, don't you think? Ultimately, putting the responsibility of an electoral defeat squarely back in the hands of the Democrats. Makes sense for this to happen since both Trump and Hamas are Muslim. It's true. Yeah. I somehow am a real mover and shaker in terms of like people winning elections. I'm a make it or break it kind of guy for elections. But I also simultaneously do not use that power for Bernie Sanders, you know? Weirdly enough, despite all of the influence that I have, I just simply don't use it for my main man, Bernie. If I had that level of motion, Bernie Sanders would have been president. This would be his second term. The Israeli apartheid would have been abolished. Okay, just kidding. He probably wouldn't do that. Let's be real. But since we're, you know, fantasizing, I'm just gonna, you can't stop me from fantasizing further. You know what I mean? Yeah. Bernard Sanders says, we must dismantle the Zionist entity. An enterprise of settler colonialism must not stand. Not on my watch. We will not repeat the mistakes of the past. There is a new specter haunting the globe. It is one not of Marxist origin, but instead a fascist one. And it's an old specter, one that has dominated the politics of Europe. And we must stop it. The international proletariat must rise up in arms. You have nothing to lose but your chains. Bernie would nuke China? That's crazy. That's what Bernie Sanders would say in my mind. In my fantasy, that's how Bernie is approaching the subject matter. Yeah. Wait, is Israel still bombing stuff? Is this real? Yes, of course. Yeah, Bernie Sanders was a write-in vote for the Lebanese presidential race. I am not a Maronite Christian, as is declared by Lebanese parliamentary law, Lebanese constitution. However, this is an antiquated relic of French colonial ambition, a DEI effort, if you will. So therefore, I, Bernie Sanders, will now be the new president of Lebanon, the first Jewish president of Lebanon. Why not? You know, we're fantasizing.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're expecting that inauguration of Donald Trump next Monday. And as you say, that ceasefire agreement is expected to, kick in on Sunday. Mark, thanks so much for bringing us up.
It'd be so funny if you saw this after the interview you just had. Yeah, apparently CNN used the clip from my interview already with Bernie Sanders on their news coverage. So it's really, it is kind of GG's if any of your parents actually accidentally were like, oh, isn't that socialist kid you listened to? And then like tuned in. And then they saw me doing this. They're going to be like, this is the worst thing I've ever seen. Why you're no longer allowed to watch this.
Up to date, and Mark was talking there about normalization that Israel wants with Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi officials have maintained, and they've certainly told me that they are focused on normalization only if there is a Palestinian state.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, now we're back to the Senate. Thank me later for finding this.
We'll see. If Trump stops the Israeli government from doing an apartheid, I will do the tasteful photo shoot. No dick, tasteful nude.
Yeah, that was ending the apartheid, not ceasefire. For those of you who misunderstood what I was saying to Bradley Martin, because time and time again, I repeated the position that I likely believe that Donald Trump will get an optics victory here for a at least momentary ceasefire. And Netanyahu will give it to him. Semantics, show us your hog. You literally are Never mind. I'm not going to say what you do for a living, but you are a professional journalist, a professional photojournalist. That's crazy. Brandon's farewell address in about 1.5 hours tonight. Oh, God. Fuck him.